Rev up your engines!
Marcos Delgado says, Scotty, I want to get an HHR with a manual transmission. It's 130,000 miles. What are your thoughts? Okay, I don't like those GM products. They generally don't hold up over time, but it's a standard transmission. The worst thing about the HHRs are their automatic transmissions are garbage, and you don't have one. It's a manual transmission. Now, that said, it's got 130,000 miles, and it's got a little bitty four-cylinder engine in it. Don't pay much for it because they aren't worth much when they're used. You get a standard, you get it at a cheap price. Hey, change the oil a lot, take care of it. Who knows? But don't pay much for it because just realize that when they get older, they're not worth that much money and you don't want to pay much for it. And if you get it cheap enough, hey, you never know. It might last a long time. Just don't pay too much for it though because it isn't worth that much. Teresa B says, I got a 1998 Ford Taurus W, 164,000 miles for free, but the radiator was rusty, flushed once, suspension's bad, valve cover, transmission, oil pan leak, needs transmission and motor mounts. Our Ford Taurus is a good car. Okay, that's 98 Ford Taurus. They actually had quite a bit of problems. Now the thing is, you got that car for nothing. It runs decent and shifts decent. Do the valve cover, oil leaks, if it's not leaking that bad, transmission fluid and engine oil's cheap. Just keep adding it. And if the suspension's bad, get some struts and put them on it. It'll ride a lot better. Just don't put a whole bunch of money into it. My advice would be, drive it a little while. See how you feel with it. Does it feel solid enough? Does it run and shift good enough? And if it does, fix things a little at a time. If it doesn't, heck, just drive it until the wheels fall off and then get rid of it. You got it for nothing, so you're not really going to be losing anything. MDS 8168 says, Scotty, I have a shake or wobble in the front when I take off from a stop. Once in a while, I thought it could be the engine. Cleaned the map, throttle port cleaner, I had strut replaced, and it's still shaking or wobble when I take off from a stop. A lot of times, it's just the motor or the transmission mount is worn. Because when you take off, there's more torque on the engine. And so if the mounts are gone, it'll wobble as it bounces back and forth. You want to check those mounts first to see if there's any problem with that. Now, let's say you have a car that has a notorious problem, like, say, a Chrysler minivan. If you have a Chrysler minivan that's doing that, odds are it's the transmission's starting to go out. Because when you take off, if it wobbles, a lot of times, it's the transmission just starting to go out. Because if you got a suspension problem like a bad tire or worn tie rods, the faster you go, the more it's going to wobble. And yours is the other way around. It's wobbling when you're taking off. You want to pray that it's not an internal transmission fault, because if it's that, you would have to go and get it rebuilt, which costs a fortune. So pray that it's a motor or transmission mount first, because they're very easy to check. Zeno 2019, he says, Scotty, I got an 04 Trailblazer and my dash lights aren't working. What could be the cause? People had the radio out before the original dash cluster, and we got 3 more clusters, put them in, and the light still didn't work. What could it be? It could be not having the radio when you swap it out, because GM has these insane designs. Some of the modern cars won't even start if you swap the radio, because part of the starting system is in a radio circuitry. So you want to check all the wiring by where the radio was. Something could easily be off. Now, if you hadn't had that radio taken out and not replaced, the problem often is on those. You turn your lights on, then you got those things to make the lights brighter or dimmer. That part often breaks. Now, that can be bypassed, because you can just take the wire off of that and you can run it directly to the clusters. When you have the car running, the cluster will get 12 volts all the time, and then the lights would stay on. You couldn't adjust them and make them dim or make them bright. They'd be bright all the time, but hey, look at me, I'm getting old. I want them bright, so I want those things as bright as they can be. First thing I do is go to the light feed on that cluster and just give it 12 volts, and if it lights up, just rewire it so that power comes from the ignition switch to there when you start it up, and they'll be lit up all the time. Eduardo Pacera says, Scotty, hello from Italy. I have an 84 Audi Quattro. It overheats. The fan works. I check the inlet and outlet temperature of the 2 radiators and enters at 240 and exit at 140. What can it be? Okay, well, it's exiting at a lot lower. Your radiators are losing 100 degrees. So they're getting rid of heat. They're doing their job. Now, the problem with Audis is as they age, they often have problems with blowing head gaskets. Your engine could just be putting out so much heat that it's overheating. You want to watch my video, how to tell if your head gasket's blown. Do that test, because if the head gasket's blown, It'll overheat no matter how fast your radiator can dissipate heat. The engine will create too much heat and it will keep overheating.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.